Hello, so the book talk I'm going to be doing today is about books that are alternative histories, basically meaning that um, they take, there's a real event going on that actually did happen, but they're looking at what if something else happened differently. And so for the first book I'm going to be talking about is Frontlines, and this book is by Michael Grant, and this book is about um, what if women had been um, on the front lines? What if they had been able to fight? Um, and what if they were part of the draft? And so this looks at three girls who all volunteer to help with the war. However, they all believe that they're just going to have desk jobs. Well, come to find out, the war, it was awful. And so they all end up on the front lines and they all see horrible things. And it's more than just the war, it's about women in general just being treated as they should be and as equals, and just what power and strength come from when men and women work together. And it's a fantastic read. It's really sad because it's about World War II, and there's no denying that a book about World War II is going to be sad. So, highly recommend this one for any history people. The next book that I'm going to talk about, actually, the next two books I'm going to talk about, they're a little different. They kind of go way off in the what if direction. But this book, Wolf by Wolf, is by Ryan Gordon. And this book is about, again, World War II, except it's set in 1956. And so this book looks at a world where Germany won, and the Axis powers won, and they rule the world. Germany and Japan basically are the rulers. And every year there is this motorcycle race that kind of celebrates their win. And so Yale, who is the main character of this story, she was in a death camp and she was experimented on, and some awful stuff happened to her. So she escapes the death camp and decides what she wants to do with her freedom is to kill Hitler. Twist, she was part of some awful experiments that allow her to change her appearance. So there's definitely a sci-fi element to this book. However, the sci-fi is not. It's more of a it's a very strange combination of a book. It's fantastic. The characters, you want to help Yale, but she is pretending to be someone she's not, and people are suspicious, and this is a very dangerous thing for her to do, especially after escaping a death camp. So it's just kind of her story. The next book I'm talking about is a little bit older, but still one of the best books that look at what ifs. It's called Watchmen, and it's a graphic novel, so some nice, interesting illustrations to go with it. And this book, again, is set, I don't know if they ever specify when this book is set. However, it's set in a future where the world's about to end, and what this means is people are scared. Well, years before all of this, superheroes are real, by the way. Superheroes, totally real. They totally help save the world. But years ago, there was a law that said that all superheroes had to unmask themselves. And this was a very conflicted thing that happened, and superheroes kind of fought with each other about it. And so now, in this point in time where the book starts, someone's killing the superheroes. And to kill a superhero, you gotta be pretty super yourself because they're not easy to kill. And so this story is really, it sounds like superheroes, like it sounds like it's gonna be just a fun story. And it is a fun story, but it's really looks at politics, and it looks at who are your friends, and are people who we expect them to be, and are people just wearing masks all the time, even when you think they're unmasked. And so this book is fantastic, highly recommend, especially if you like superheroes, or if you're not sure you like superheroes, this is a great book to start with, and it's also good if you want to get into graphic novels. So the next book I'm going to talk about is called Fallout by Todd Strasser, and so this book is set in 1962, and Scott's father built a fallout shelter, and he is mocked in the neighborhood, and people are like, we don't need a shelter, nothing's bad's ever gonna happen. Well, something bad does happen. And so what happens is that in this shelter where 4 people were meant to live, 10 people ended up there because no one else built one, because no one else thought this was going to happen. And so there's not enough supplies, there's not enough room, there's not enough air. And so this story, it's just kind of like, who can you trust? What happens when anxiety is high? Just a great story to look at, another what-if question. And finally, the last book I'm going to talk about is Leviathan by Scott Westerfeld. And so this book is set in World War I, and it has a steampunk element. Like, there's a lot of technology that they definitely didn't have during the actual World War I. But this story is about Alec and Darren, I think that's how you say it, and kind of their story about how they come from very different worlds, but they end up together because this war is going on, and they have to kind of figure out what they're going to do. And it's the first book in a series, and so it's a great read. So I hope in one of these books you have found one you'll want to read. Thanks.